A federal investigation has been launched against Nike over allegations that white employees were treated unfairly, including claims they were disproportionately targeted for layoffs.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission says Nike refused to comply with a subpoena seeking workforce data, including racial and ethnic demographics.
Joining us now, EEOC Chairwoman Andrea Lucas. Chairwoman, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm really interested in this story and understand it's an ongoing investigation, so you're limited in what you can talk about. But for the sake of our viewers, help us understand what the nature of this discrimination looks like. What were white employees allegedly facing at Nike that could be described as discrimination?
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa and Brian. It's a pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, this is a subpoena enforcement action. So I do want to make clear at the start that our investigation is still ongoing and we're not prejudging anything at this point. But the allegations, which you can see in our court filings, relate to alleged broad systemic race discrimination against white employees in Nike's corporate workforce. Based on its DEI programs and practices. So again, it's a race discrimination claim. It goes against the entire corporate workforce of Nike. And it includes references, in the face of the charge and as noted in our public filings, related to a number of mentoring, leadership development, and other training programs as well.
So we do want to get this statement in to Fox Business from Nike. It says this feels like a surprising and unusual escalation. We've had extensive good faith participation in an EEOC inquiry into our personnel practices, programs, and decisions. We are committed to fair and lawful employment practices and follow all applicable laws, including those that prohibit discrimination. What do you make of that statement, and are they telling the truth?
Well, ultimately, that fight's going to have to play out in court. But what I can say is that Congress empowered the commission to be a law enforcement agency here. And President Trump has charged the commission and all federal agencies with moving as efficiently and effective against discrimination claims and any other claims that may be harming the American worker. We're not going to do the foot dragging that we've seen in other administrations, where it's an endless labyrinth of bureaucratic delays. This investigation has been pending for over a year. And, one of the tools that Congress gave us is that where there's delay or where an employer is not cooperating with us, we have the ability to both issue a subpoena and go into court to enforce that subpoena. So, we're going to use every single tool in our tool chest to protect the American worker, like President Trump has charged us with.
One of the things I've wondered about, and this is more broad than perhaps Nike, but I've wondered if some of these kind of DEI programs, these things that are discriminatory, are operating under different names now. Companies aren't calling them DEI or diversity or whatever. There's some other title, but it's essentially the same thing. Preferential treatment to people on the basis of race or something else. Is that one of the problems you're running into?
Well, there's a range of conduct. And again, we investigate charges that often have started several years ago. That this is an example of that. But we have any number of charges in our pipeline that may be several years old. Unfortunately, we're trying to move as swiftly as we can. So, some of the things that we'll ultimately investigate will probably have the old moniker. But, regardless of what you describe your employee program, it doesn't really matter what you label it. What matters is how does it function. And if you're taking any employment action motivated in whole or in part based on race or sex or another protected characteristic, that's unlawful discrimination. So slapping on a title like belonging or inclusion or people, doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is, are you discriminating? That's what we're charging ahead with, and we're not going to let people sort of paper over discrimination.
What could the consequences be for Nike?
Well, again, I don't want to speak specifically about Nike, but I can say that for any employer that's facing an EEOC subpoena, if the court upholds the enforcement of subpoena, you will be forced to turn over materials. And then the ultimate consequences of an EEOC investigation can result in hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of monetary damages. Again, we don't issue fines. We recover money specifically for American workers. So they can result in $1 million recoveries for specific workers, which that's another reason why it's so important for workers to reach out to the EEOC, to go to EEOC.gov EEOC.gov to contact us because, again, we're not a fine-based agency. We're a remedial agency that wants to get money to workers.
Very important to know. Thank you for that. Andrea, Lucas, we appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.